যদি জয়েন করো না।
Good morning, everyone. Today we will have Mr. Alok Tripathi, ADG, Archaeological Survey of India, New Delhi, as a resource person. So he will be joining shortly. So let him join. Then we will start our fourth session. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Smita Devnath, Assistant Professor, Department of History, Holy Cross College, Agartala. Respected faculty members, research scholars, and dear students. Today is the fourth day of our one-week national workshop come FDP on strategies for assimilation of indigenous knowledge systems with the modern education system, organized by the Central Sanskrit University, Akalabbo campus, Agartala, in joint collaboration with the Department of History, Holy Cross College, Agartala. On the behalf of Central Sanskrit University and the Department of History, Holy Cross College, I am going to introduce and welcome our today's resource person, Sir Professor Alok Tripathi, Additional Director General, Archaeological Survey of India, New Delhi. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce and welcome you, sir, in our fourth session of the National Workshop Come FDP. Sir, over to you, sir. The platform is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you, Smita. Thanks to the organizer for organizing this online session and giving me this opportunity. Uh, I'm not going to be very structured or formal in this discussion. I would like to share few of my thoughts on the topic of indigenous knowledge system or ancient education system in India, particularly talking about the Nalanda, one of the most famous center for education in India, and which was renowned for its teacher and the knowledge base. And because of that, scholars from around the world was coming here. And we have few archaeological evidence, literary evidence in that regard. But before we proceed about education system and knowledge, let us just think that what we are talking today, when we talk about indigenous or traditional knowledge system, one way we are discovering our own heritage, which somehow we lost. And we lost because there was a design of so. Smita just now talked about modern education system. This word modern is something very interesting. Those who are associated with history or those who have read the history, they know that we have divided our history in three parts: ancient, medieval, and modern. And all of you know the ancient is what really belongs to us, which was ours. And this term ancient, makes I'm never uh, very comfortable with this word ancient when attached with the history and what we call in India or in our traditional system itihas. Itihas is itihas. It cannot be ancient, modern, or medieval. Anything which has passed is itihas. And ancient, if you see the meaning in English dictionary, it means something which is not relevant, that is old. And therefore, what was ours, we felt it was no more relevant. And the modern history starts from the day when British defeated King of Bengal in the War of Plassey. So the day we became Gulam, country became modern. That is something which required to be serious thinking. The day when the country was, means the occupation is started in a systematic manner, they called that era or that phase of our history as the modern phase. In another word, Gulami became synonymous to modern. And should we remain Gulam to remain modern, or we should try to find out our roots, understand our own heritage. This is a question which I am posing to all those who have been associated today. I would like to share the screen just to touch host disabled screen sharing. Can you allow me to share my screen, organizers? Or if not, I'll continue speaking because there's not much uh, images. So I'll continue with my discussion. So when we talk about ancient education or Indian education system, we have different sources to know about it. And these sources are the literature, our monuments, structural monuments, and the material which we have got from the archaeological excavations. We have a number of beautiful representations in sculpture where you can see how the education was imparted. These are the scenes from Gurukul or a teacher teaching his student. You have a young boy writing on a board that's of a early, means it's of a Gupta period. You have images or terracotta images where a young child is writing in Brahmi script. We have a number of seals and sealing which are coming from different monasteries or the centers of education. And we also find a number of instruments and materials which were used for writing system or which were used in education. And all these sources provide us sufficient information to understand that how the system was functioning, how the education was imparted, what was the areas where the education was imparted, and the centers where people were going to learn. Education was given a very high place in the society and in everyday life. Often there is a discussion about the caste system in India, and among them, the Brahmins are put on the top. Though there are different discussions and debates, but Brahman was someone who was knowledgeable. There are two systems which, in a later phase, it becomes by birth, but originally, or the concept was of someone who is knowledgeable, and therefore the knowledge was given highest place in the life, and it was essential and must for someone to attain moksha. And then therefore there was a concept of dvis, that by birth you may be in any caste, but once you start learning, that is your second birth. The day you go to school, that is considered as the second birth, and those who were dvis, as per their ability, they were further subdivided in the groups. And that unfortunately in a later phase become so-called caste system, which Britishers used it as a tool to divide the society. So education was a tool to lead a meaningful life. If you are not educated, the life was like any other animal. For the development of society, for the one's own upliftment, and for attaining spiritual goals, education was important. And it was also associated with physical as well as spiritual responsibilities. And the basic purpose of education was to lead person from darkness to the light, or give freedom from the darkness. So those who are not educated live a dark, live in darkness, or live a life where you do not have the light. So we say tamsoma jyotirgamaya. So let us lead or move from darkness to the light. And that was the basic purpose of education. Education help you in taking care of individual, social, and religious aspects that comes with the knowledge and education. See, education is a word which one must understand. Getting degrees is not education. Education is directly associated with the learning or the knowledge. There are certain people who have not gone to school, they don't have any formal degree, but they are highly educated. You may also find some people who have number of degrees, maybe even the highest degree which is offered by any university, but they are hardly educated. So one should always differentiate in educated and literate. So those who are having degrees may be literate, may not be essentially educated. And there may be some who are educated but may not be traditionally or literate. So one should understand this difference in the education and literate people. So they had those who were educated, they had a number of responsibilities, and these responsibilities were individual responsibilities, social responsibilities, and the religious responsibilities. And religion, the all religions, what we had traditionally, they all were associated with the education, some way or the other. Though there were traditions, there were customs that become more elaborate with the time, but basic idea or the essence of any dharma was education. The word religion, again, which we have made synonymous with dharma, is a faulty thing. Actually, when we speak in English, we cannot express the real thing of our tradition, our education, itihas, dharma, because they are something which are much deeper than the terms what you find in English. For example, religion. Religion has got a very different connotation and which can never represent or can convey the real meaning or truth of dharma. So dharma can never be religion. Similar is the education, the siksha, or the teacher. You have a word teacher, but if you go in our traditional languages, you have a number of different terms. They are denoting different type of educated persons who are sharing or imparting knowledge in a different forms. So this language has also created a big barrier to understand our own culture, our own itihas. So once a person is supposed to be educated, since we are speaking in English, because it has become a medium of uh, sharing our thoughts, we will stick to these terms. But you should understand that the real sense or the real meaning of our traditional things are much different than what we are talking or the terms which we are using. An educated person is supposed to perform many social and religious duties and improve the physical and spiritual life. Main goal of any person was to make to improve his life. And when an individual improves his life, automatically it is going to improve the things around him, and that is in the society. Education broadens the view of life. It also tells you about the preservation, transmission, and development of traditions and cultural values. And these were the things which were associated with our system of education. It sharpened intellect and established character through the development of personality. And the basic idea of education was to search the truth, satya ki khoj. So the basic of aim of education is to know what is truth, satya. And if you find the satya, even good, if we talk about Gautam Buddha, he sat in meditation to find the truth. So the basic aim of education is to know or find truth or satya. It also helps to transform a young student into a social being as to make him a well integrated person, willing and able to play his economic, bioaesthetic, and spiritual role in the society. Education was obligatory and must. And for that, that we had a ashram system where the brahmacharya ashram was dedicated for education. We also have four purusharth. There again, education becomes a part. We had three rin, and to get rid of those rin, again, you have to perform certain thing. And we had a system of sanskar where again it becomes a part. So everywhere education in a social system was made essential and a must. Among the four ashram, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanprastha, and sannyas, the first part of ashram system takes you to the Gurukul, where you go there, you learn, and after completing your education only, you move to the second ashram, that is the Grahasth. Similarly, if we talk about Purusharth, Dharma is the first Purusharth where one is supposed to get education. From there, after getting the education, one moves towards Artha Kam, and which leads them finally to the moksha that was the main aim of one's life. If we talk about three rin, Rishi rin, Deva rin, and Pitra rin, among this, to repay the Rishi rin, Brahmacharya is a main part of that. And you have to contribute towards the education system so that what you have got from Rishi or your Guru, you pass it on to the next generation or to the next or people around you or society in which you are living. We had a concept of Dvij, that is the twice born. And when the Upanayan Sanskar was done, it was considered as the second birth of the person. And we get the references of that in the Atharva Veda. We have a Brahmacharya ashram, which is the first quarter of our life, which start with the Upnayan Sanskar, and it leads the student to the teacher. And that is the beginning of the stage of studentship, and you embark on the task of learning. And this system, what we call the Gurukul system or ashram system, was very different from the present day education system where one has to search for the school, pay hefty amount as donations to get in some good schools, or you have to have some political or some other kind of linkages to make way and then get entry in that. And the education which starts with paying bribe can never lead you to a better life or a better society. So instead of building a character, the present system is actually ruining the character, because one's know that if he has to start his life, it is to be started with paying the bribe in the form of donations or in other names. These names are very beautiful. They don't say pay me bribe, but these many of these institutions which are having the name and fame where everybody is craving to put their children there, they are on different fanciful names are actually asking you to pay bribe so that your sibling can enter and then he can make a lot of money in the future, and then can spread the practice which they start from the class 1. The Gurukul system was absolutely against it, where one need not to pay even a single pi and get the best education which is available in the society at that time. So that ashram, when we talk about brahmacharya ashram, it symbolizes the firm determination to attain scholastic goals of the young student. And full 1/4 of the life was totally dedicated for this education. During the brahmacharya or in Gurukul, different kind of subjects were taught. They were taught religious text, astronomy, rituals, logic, languages, grammar, rhetoric, mathematics, poetics, traditional designated arts, medicine, surgery, religious and philosophical instruments dominate the scheme of education. So it was not only, generally, it is again propagated and said that the education in Gurukuls was just reading some text and doing some rituals. That was not the case. And we have archaeological evidence from number of archaeological sites where in excavation there are seals and ceilings and the structures which were hospitals, which were the center for medical teaching and training. There are many structures which have deeply rooted or connected with astronomical and astrological connections. As far as the language, grammar, and logic is concerned, we have wonderful collection of literature, mathematics, or many other technical branches. We have many ancient texts which which are the evidence that how developed these all branches were. Unfortunately, since we are cut off from our main language, that is the Sanskrit, we ourselves are not ready, means we are not in position to read them and understand them. As a result, they have become only these all books and the text and manuscripts. They have become a showpiece of our museums because what is filled in them, the knowledge which is inside, we are unable to understand. Again, if we talk about Gurukul system, there was no fee charged. It was totally based on the capabilities or the curiosity of a student and a young student. We have number of instances where you will find that a young boy walks to the Gurukul, has a debate there, and the teacher getting impressed by his curiosity, admit him, and then you find that they becomes a big, means a very well-renowned acharyas. There are certain things like Diksha is one thing which has been criticized by most of the people that the students were made beggars. But if you see the other aspect, that was an essential tool to cool their ego. When you go and beg, you directly get associated with the society and you became faithful and obliged to the society which has taken care of you. And then you lose all your ego because you get connected with your roots and the every person in the society. You don't know to whom you are going to get your food today. But it was also ensured that the no student sleep empty stomach. There were sufficient system. Gurukuls were having all these arrangements, but these were the systems which developed the personality of a person. Today, for example, person who get a seat in a medical college by paying a hefty amount. The day he gets a degree, he opens his nursing home and started charging heavy fees. Most of the people in the society can't even afford to go to that doctor. And then he is not doing anything wrong because he has bought the education. And after buying this education by paying an hefty amount, now he has to get back his money which he has paid. So the present system is has made education as a business. It is no more education in a real sense. It has become a business where you pay the money, you buy the education. Once you buy the education, you come to the market and start getting money from the people so that what you have paid, you get 10 times of that, which was never the idea of education, because education was for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of every individual and the common man, and not for earning the money. So in Brahmacharya, they studied in Gurukul, they did not pay any fees. So when everything was arranged by the society, they had a deep feeling and a relation with the society that after getting the education, they work for those people who arrange their education. So it was a bond which was created with the society. And that was a system in which our country developed and the society also functioned. They were also taught, other than any other technical thing, the essential task of running the household in daily routine. They were supposed to take care of the cows which are there in ashram. They were supposed to get fodder for that. The students were supposed to go to jungle and bring the firewood. So they were supposed to study the technical subject. At the same time, they were supposed to do routine daily work. It's not like air conditioned hostels today where you get every facility. You just go to classroom, come, study, and relax and enjoy. So they were made to do everything so that you understand your country, your society, your people, your life, your environment, everything. Remain connected with everything which is around you. There was no distinction between the rich and a poor. A prince will study with a son or a daughter of any poor person or a common man. So they have to behave like a student and not like the different groups or classes of the society. Though in the school, the very basic idea of uniform is to make everybody feel that they all are of same type. But that's only a idea, not in reality. If it is to be made in reality, that will help people to grow, student particularly, and that will help society in a great extent. In Gurukul system, there was no formal central regulatory authority like what we have in the universities or in the colleges, Department of Higher Education or UGC, uh, or this kind of thing. It was totally based on the interest of a student and the knowledge of the teacher. So every teacher tried to impart best knowledge, whatever he can offer to his student, depending upon his capability to consume. The students who are interested in technical education, they learn that. Somebody is interested in archery, he will learn that. Somebody is interested in the economics, he will study that. So it depends on the interest of the student. And this education was very simple, so communicated from teacher to student. And these teachers were known by their students. They spent many years until the teacher was satisfied that their student had learned all that they could impart. And when they realize the student want to know more, they will send him to and another acharya who is more knowledgeable than the teacher, with a recommendation that now you go. I have taught you whatever I knew. Now you need to know more. Then please go to such and such acharya who is more knowledgeable. And the student, if wants to continue, he will go there and will learn from that. And this is how they get the best available knowledge in the society. At the conclusion of this, Samvartan was conducted, and then the student after that entered in the Grahastha ashram. We have many references in Upanishad and the other texts where this whole system has been mentioned, and we get information about it. We know about the three lok which have been talked about: Manushyalok, Pitralok, and Devlok. And among these, Devlok was considered the best. And Devlok could be won only by the education. So the education was the real tool to achieve your goals in the society. And this education only enlighten, it generate quest for truth, which makes you free from the darkness in life. And that was the basic aim of the education. Vishnu Puran mentioned Sha Vidyaya Vimukte Vidyanya Shilpane Punyam. Vishnu Puran again say Andam Tam Iva Jnanam. So the basic purpose was to get the jnana, the knowledge, the light, and then move upwards. For this, there were different systems. When we talk about our temples, vihar, or other such establishments, they all were the education system. Initially, students will move to the nearby centers where they have a basic knowledge. Once they have that, they even go for a higher knowledge to the centers. And there were few centers which was renowned like Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Vallabhi, Odantapur, Kashi. And those who want to have higher, you can call degree, they used to go for these centers. When we talk about Nalanda, Nalanda generally because uh, it was a sort of university. It was a Mahavihar where thousands of students were learning different subjects under the able guidance of hundreds of very knowledgeable priests or acharya. And this site, which is located close to Patna, around 90 kilometers from Patna, and hardly a yojan or a half, around 10 kilometers from Rajgraha, which was the capital. And since the excavations were conducted there, a large number of uh, monastic establishments were unearthed there. And we have got a number of inscription and other supporting evidence which suggest that how this center was. If you see the history, then it is mentioned from 6th to 5th century. It has a close connection with Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankar of Jain Dharma, and also with Buddha. One of the great disciple of Buddha, Sariputta, was born and he died at Nalanda. In history, we get different references of this place by different names. Sometimes it is referred as Nal, Nalak, Nalak Gram, Naland, and Nalanda. But during the excavations, what remains have been found, they are basically from the Gupta period onwards. However, in history, we get references that Ashok has constructed a stupa there. He had also made a monastery, Nalanda Vihar. We are aware that Nagarjuna, who was in the second century CE, a great philosopher of Mahayana, he studied there and then he also became a high priest there. So the brilliant student who studied in these means in these centers, they become acharya later on, and they occupied the high and the highest position in these uh, vihars or in these gurukuls. Again, another person, Suvishnu, who was contemporary of Nagarjuna, he had constructed 108 temple at Nalanda so that the Hinian and Mahayan tradition of Bauddha Dharma do not decline. In 4th century, we find reference of Aryadeva, who was a philosopher or Madhyamik school of Bauddha Dharma. So these are the scholars, these are the references about the structures which were constructed at Nalanda, about which we get information from various sources. But if you visit the site and you see the structures which have been excavated and which have been preserved there, they all are from the Gupta period onwards, that is from the around 5th, 6th century, and they continue till the 13th century. Students from every part of India were coming here for the knowledge. Not only that, scholars from Central Asia, China, Korea, Southeast Asia, they were also coming regularly. Generally, we find names of a few Pensong, Faiyan, Itsing, but they are those who have left very elaborate travel accounts, and therefore we often talk about them. But there is a long list of scholars who visited that, and these are those whose name have been recorded. But other than that, there must have been hundreds more who visited these centers, who stayed there, they learned there, and then they have gone back and spread the knowledge which they got from here. During the excavation, which started from the very early of the 20th century, they were not very meticulous archaeological excavation as we do today. But during that time, whatever the best practices were available, they carried out. And it was more of exposure of structures. And therefore, we didn't get much information, which if we would have done today, would have got. Because today, the techniques have developed. We have many other scientific techniques which help us to understand correlation of different things, analyze the excavate material, date them precisely. But what all was excavated, that includes a number of monasteries. Monasteries, you can simply, in the term of modern term, if you want to understand, they are the hostels where a large number of monks were living. At times, you find they were having single rooms. These are small rooms where they were studying, and these monasteries were multi-story. At times, they had their own open courtyards. Generally, if you have visited the monastery, you will find a series of rooms all around, and in the center, you have a courtyard. At there, there are also provisions of a temple or a stoop for prayers. They have their own water supply. They are secure, and they had all facilities which are required for students to live a life where they can concentrate on their education. A number of lecture halls and libraries are also excavated. And their description is given. Huensang is the one who has given a very detailed description of Nalanda. These constructions were made during the Gupta period, and from the epigraphs and other sources, what information we get, we find that these construction during the 5th and 6th centuries were made by Buddhagupta, Tathagat Gupta, Baladit, and Vajra. They made the monasteries there because it is not that prior to that the students were not there or it was not an education center. Probably these students who were coming might be living with their teachers in their houses, or the houses must have been small residential quarters spread in the village. But from the Gupta period onwards, we find that properly designed huge monasteries are constructed, right? So that all the students who are coming there for the education can stay and they have support what is required. After the end of Gupta regime rule, we find that Harshvardhan, whose date is 606 to 647, was one of the king who had greatly supported this university. He had donated 200 villages and their revenue was used for maintenance of this university or this center of learning. So all the produce from these 200 villages, food, milk, butter, rice, vegetables, everything was supplied to student and they need not to go to collect their food. So it was a system. Once you enter here, then you focus only study on your studies, and then because of the revenue which is coming from 200 villages, it was very well maintained and all necessities were provided to the student. Since I'm not able to share this in my presentation, otherwise I would have shown you some of these images. I'm sure that even now with the help of Google, it's very easy to see anything which you want. So those who are interested in seeing the ancient ruins of these structures at Nalanda, they can just Google, and I'm sure that you will get a number of photographs which will be there. So have an idea that what kind of monasteries or the structures are there at Nalanda. Fayan also visited this place, but he does not mention about these monasteries or these structure, which suggests that probably during his visit, these monasteries were not completed or they were not built. He mentioned about a stupa at this place. He mentioned about the village, but he does not mention about these structures. So probably these monasteries and all these structures which we find today at the site, which have been excavated, they were constructed after the visit of Fahian. Wensong is the one who stayed there for a long time, and then he has given elaborate description of these monasteries, the life at Nalanda, the scholars who are studying there, and the teachers, acharya who are there, the different areas of education. And how many of you know that when Sang was given a name at Nalanda, and his name was Mokshadev? He is known as Mokshadev, and it was the name which was given to him at Nalanda. It's his Indian name, and he was known at Nalanda even in a later centuries by his local name. And he mentioned about the kind of means the branches of education which when he was staying he saw in different schools. He mentioned Hetu Vidya, logic, Shabd Vidya, grammar. He also mentioned that even the Veda was taught there. Different monasteries were making copies of ancient text. And there is a very good reference a monastery which was constructed by a king of Sumatra. For its maintenance, he requests a local king, and this Indian king donate few villages so that the monastery which was constructed by a king of Sumatra is maintained, and the students who are living there, their needs are fulfilled. So it is not that it was only a local or Indian, even the rich or influential people in other countries were also contributing for the spread or the development of knowledge, and it was such a popular center during that time. Since it was a well-established center, there was administrative hierarchy. There was Kulpati, who was the head of this whole establishment, and he was supported or assisted by Pandits or the Acharya. And there was a galaxy of brilliant teachers. And these teachers were renowned in their fields. And they were known not only in and around the Nalanda, but even to distant lands. We have references where the kings from different distant lands, they invited scholars from this place. Some of them, they stayed there. They developed education centers in their kingdoms, and the knowledge which generated from here is spread around the world. As far as the standard of education is concerned, it was very high. And we know that even the guard at the gate of the university used to take a test, and almost 7 to 8 persons who used to come here get failed, and only those who were really genuinely interested, knowledgeable, they used to get admission in this center. There were around 10,000 residents and around 1,500 teachers. Today we talk about teacher-student ratio of 1 is to 10. They had much better ratio of teacher-student during that early time. So just imagine what the modern system is teaching us today was very much prevalent in our society, in our country, long, long ago. We lost it, we cut our roots, and now again we are trying to return back to them, getting this from somewhere else. In the 7th century, there were 8 halls and 300 apartments for the students. There were 3 library buildings: Ratnasagar, Ratnadadhi, and Ratnaranjak. They were the names of the library, and we know that we have a reference that these books of these libraries were burned for months together. So the destruction of Nalanda was a big setback as far as the education, culture, and knowledge in India is concerned. We know the education was the key in our society. Life without knowledge was considered dark. Person who is not having education was just like an animal, and there was no difference in an animal and human if he does not have education. On the completion of his studies, students were asked to teach to others what he had learned, or had to spread that knowledge to others who wanted to have that or who had desire to learn. So it was a system where knowledge was flowing like a free water. There were no barriers of fees, society, caste, classes of the society. Anyone who is genuinely interested in knowing was allowed to have the knowledge. And once you have the knowledge, it was expected that you spread it further. Education was imparted to those who promise to take it away to the society and spread it. And that was the essence, that how the knowledge grows. If you keep some knowledge with yourself and don't share it with or don't spread it, this knowledge is of no use to the society. The supreme aim of education seemed to be religious quest and philosophical attainments. The education was to comprehending the supreme reality, that is the Satya or the truth, and attaining a spirit in an effort to experience the reality. And that is the basic goal of life. Teaching knowledge was gradually relegated to the position of a craft tradition practiced in the guilds. Formal education was to become entirely scholastic, resulting in intellectual ingrowing. And when the British came, our system was totally in a well-designed manner was cut off. We were taught to feel ashamed of our own tradition and knowledge, our own dharma and our own society, our own dresses and our own customs. So what we talk about modern education, it's not that everything is bad. There are good things in this system as well. But the education which British provided to Indians had an inbuilt component which made you feel ashamed of everything which is yours and to appreciate the things which is foreign or outside. And no tree can grow cutting its root. So if you don't have your strong roots, you cannot be strong. And that was what was needed politically and for administration over this vast country, which has great resources, very intellectual and powerful people with a very long itihas and very strong tradition. They were successful in achieving what they wanted. It's a matter of great satisfaction that now a realization has been made that we have lost something which was very important, which was very necessary for us, for our society, and for our country. And now again, efforts are being made to understand or learn about so called indigenous traditional knowledge systems. I am sure the day is not far away when we will return back to our roots, we will understand our own heritage, and will take pride in claiming that yes, it is our heritage, this is our customs, this is my dharma, this is my language, this is my society, village, and the place, and I feel proud of it. So with this, I end here. If there is any question or comment, I'll be very happy.
Thank you, sir, for giving your informative and wonderful lecture. Sir, respected sir, and dear participants, first of all, I want to apologize that we kept a suspense for you, that I have not properly introduced sir, because after listening him, you must be very curious to know about him. So actually, it is a very um, important day for me that sir is my teacher, philosopher, guide, and like a friend. So really today I am very happy and excited to tell you something about sir. So, sir, I know that even I know that most of the world, even every academician and the world is knows about him. But I want to tell you some information about him that uh, sir is a renowned archaeologist, underwater archaeologist, scientist, and a famous historian. So, Sir, Professor Alok Tripathi is a distinguished archaeologist and pioneer underwater archaeologist in India. He founded the Underwater Archaeology Wing in the Archaeological Survey of India, has directed several archaeological excavations in the country as well as underwater excavations in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, the most experienced underwater archaeologist in the country. He worked as a several in several countries in Asia, Africa, and Europe. He authored and edited 17 books. He holds equal authority in museology, art history, heritage management, art and architecture, remote sensing, and heritage laws. He is only social scientist list among the 10 brightest young scientists in the country. Since 2009, he is a professor at Assam University, Silchar, presently working as a additional director of the Archaeological Survey of India, New Delhi. Also, the Director General of the National Research Laboratory for Conservation of Culture, Cultural Property, Lucknow. So, last but not the least, I want to tell you something, a latest news that Sir was the leading person who guide and take our honorable Prime Minister to Dwarka city or your submerged city of Dwarka for underwater to go to the underwater city to for worship and to see the submerged city or the some see the artifacts. Okay. So this was the one of the important achievement of sir, and sir is well known for these underwater activities, underwater archaeological activities. Now,
Thanks to
respected
Smita for
participants,
this. But one
yes,
thing she
sir.
has not told that she is my research scholar also, and she was my student in MA. And when she came from Bengal, and today as a teacher she is here. So I have saw her growing from in a big way. Uh, Dwarika, of course, we had conducted excavations earlier, where recently the Prime Minister has gone. So that's again a big boost for underwater archaeology, and we are also trying to spread this branch by conducting a training and all. Hopefully, in future, many more young scholars should join underwater archaeology, and because we have got huge water area around the country, and which is full of cultural heritage, I'm sure that many more things are lying there, and that will come to light. So, if there is any question or comment, people anybody may ask.
Respected participants, sir is waiting for your question, doubt. If you have any question, please ask him. Sir is there to help you. Okay.
और नहीं है तो बहुत अच्छा, I'll be very happy.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience for me to listen about the ancient educational system, and it was a nice experience for me to learn a lot of things about the ancient educational system. Sir, I have just one query regarding the Gurukul system. As you said that in Gurukul system there was a good and best educational system practiced over there. Sir, my question and conviction is that, sir, regarding the social justice, as nowadays in our society, we can see there is a lots of a question regarding the caste system. Even there was a caste biasness caste related issues are were there since the long time in Indian society. So do we have any such kind of social injustice or social justice practiced in Gurukul systems, like for women and like lower caste? Do we have any caste biasness regarding this lower status of the society, lower rank of the society, and women regarding their entry into the Gurukul system, whether they were welcome or not?
See, what happens, what you are talking, I can understand. What has happened, we have a long itihas, and at different places, in different times, different things were happening. When we judge any system, we have to see it holistically. What was the basic idea behind that, and what has happened at some later time? Originally, the Gurukul system, there was no discrimination, either gender discrimination, male or female. Even the young girl child used to have Upnayan Sanskar, that is, you put Yagyopavit or Janev when you start your education. And if you see, there have been female scholars who have contributed in the Vedic literature also. Of course, with the time, in a later phases, many bad practices also started. One cannot say that at any point of time there was no discrimination. There was, but that was not the basic thing. At a later phase, things changed. If you go by the concept of our education system, everyone who is born in any family was a Shudra. Only by his education he could become a Brahmin or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya. So that was an occupational thing. If you are a teacher, you are a Brahmin. Your surname may be anything if you go by the very idea of this system. So you may be from any caste, from any place, from any religion, but if you are a teacher, you are a Brahmin. If you are fighting, you are a fighter from anywhere, you are a Kshatriya. If you are having a business, you are a Vaishya. And if you are doing other work which are not that important, means every work is important. See, if you know in a computer, even a very small wire or a connector doesn't work, the whole system will fail. So you can't say only A is more important, B is not. So in a society, everything is important, but it has a relative importance. Of course, at a later date, there was, then slowly the women were not allowed their entry, and then that was also with the certain caste. But these are the incidences of a later phase. That was not the original thing. But it was painted as that every time, everywhere in the country, in India, this thing was practiced. So we have to see things chronologically, and also in a time, if I put it in a time and space, it is possible at somewhere it would have been. I can give you just few examples. Valmiki, who is considered as Maharshi. We all know he was a hunter. He got a jnana, and then he composed the Ramayana. Ramayana is worshipped by the highest caste in the society, by the Brahmins. The author of that was once a hunter. So, with the knowledge, a hunter became a Maharshi. For example, even if you take the gods, Ram and Krishna, which are the most popular in the present society, both of them are not Brahmin, but they are worshipped by the Brahmin. Brahmin, which is considered a higher caste, will wash the feet of Ram or Krishna. Krishna is from Yadav family. Ram is a Kshatriya family. They will wash their feet and will drink. So that is the system of the society. A person who has done something great for the society is worshipped. It doesn't make a difference from where he is coming. And a person was known by his works. Again, one cannot deny that in certain phase of the history, this thing became by birth, and that was never appreciated in a real sense. But you cannot deny the historical reality as well. I hope it answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Uh, good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Am I
Yeah, please
audible?
go ahead.
Good afternoon,
Yes, go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, my name is Devashish Dotto, and sir, I have a small dilemma in my mind which I want to share with you, and hopefully you can give me a clarity on this. Sir, on the one hand, we are talking about Indian knowledge system. You also talked about the Indian knowledge ancient Indian universities in your today's lecture, which is totally offline-based education system, where the discipline, the punctuality, the sincerity of a student was greatly valued. But in modern times, present society, we are also talking about modern the revivalism or revivalism
Your
of the
your just
Indian
your
knowledge
voice is
system.
breaking. Your
Yeah,
voice
sir.
is breaking.
Yeah, because of poor network connectivity, sir.
Okay.
Uh,
Now it is clear. It's clear now.
am I audible now, sir? Am I
Yes.
audible now,
Yes.
sir?
Now it is clear.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. My query to you is, sir, when we are talking about the ancient Indian universities and Indian knowledge system of ancient India, we notice that this whole setup actually given a lot of emphasis to the sincerity, punctuality, uh, these aspects of a student. How all these things are going to be cultivating a student. Besides actually giving the broader picture, but in present context, when we are talking about the revivalism or revivalization of this Indian knowledge system, Indian tradition system in our
Can't hear you now. I think disconnected. I can't hear.
Sir, I have another query. Sorry for the
Yeah, please.
interruption, as Sir Devashish was asking something, but due to internet issues, I guess
Yes,
he
please
got
continue.
disconnected.
Continue. Hmm.
Yeah. Sir, my another questions regarding the present globalized era. As you said that in ancient Gurukul system, there was a best practices. But sir, if we want to inculcate that system with the present globalized era, as 2020 NEP also speaks to assimilate the ancient ideas with the present education system. Sir, do you think that with the present globalized era, where we have a lot of caste biasness, we have lots of caste prejudice, even the with regards to the sectarian issues, no, we have a lot of differences. We even the political polarization is there. So, do you think that is it possible to assimilate such idea with the present globalized era, when we are running a lot of confusion, we are running a lot of problem in politics, in social sphere, we have a lot of restrictions which regards to caste issues, a lot of cases are going on, or it was implemented in the name of caste, in the name of religion. So, is it really possible to assimilate such ideas with the present era, sir? Sir, I think if I don't know whether I'm able or not to convey
Yes,
the
yes.
message, sir.
Yes, 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 yes. See, we have to decide that what we want. Education was for knowledge. Okay. Now, today, if you see what is education, first thing you have to understand when we are talking about education. Education is for knowledge. Today, everything we have taken as education. There are certain things which are skill development. They are directly related with one's job or uh, sustaining in a society. That's a different thing. Basically, the education was for those, because the aim of education is to find the satya or the truth. It may be in any field. It may be in physics, it may be in sociology, it may be in history, or anywhere. Maybe in the literature or languages. So you want to know. That is what the knowledge is. Today, in this present world, what you call globalization, where we are talking about uniformity. Uniformity is good for businessmen. With less efforts, you can earn more if things are globalized. For example, if you go to Gujarat, people are wearing different dress. A person who want to sell a traditional dress will have to make a different kind of clothes. A person in Maharashtra is wearing different kind of dresses. A person in Assam is wearing different kind of clothes and dresses. So every area, region has its own customs, traditions, dresses, food, language, everything. So if I am a businessman having a cloth industry, I have to make 100 type of clothes to sell in Indian market, Indian traditional market. But if I have a uniformity, I make one blue jean and it is sold all over the world. So I can make 10,000 jeans and can sell them around the world and can have a heavy, huge profit. So the so-called globalization is somewhat market driven or economy driven thing. Even for education also, we want the same education everywhere. That was not in Gurukuls. Every Gurukul was having its own education. They had their own curriculum. And therefore, the people were known. The Gotra which we use comes from our rishis, Kashyap, Sandil, whatever you put that. Because these rishis taught us in their Gurukul, they were taught, and so that you got an ideology or knowledge from a different type. And there were debates and shastars between different schools. And when it was realized that philosophy of X is better than Y, the Y will also accept what X is saying. So there was a lot of indigenous things. They were growing in their own way. There were there was no conflict as such. There convergence, there was acceptance, there were debates. So that was a different kind of system. But today we want to paint things in a uniform way, in a simple manner. So with less efforts, we can have more profit. That is what the key thing in a globalization. You make same type of cars, you make same types of clothes, you make same type of food. You have a Domino pizza. You go to Kolkata, you go to Ahmedabad, you go to Srinagar, you go to Chennai. You will have same thing. Earlier, when you move from one town to another town, you will have a different kind of food, different dishes. So there was a difference. And that was, it is something like, it's like a garden. You have different kind of flowers. If you plant one kind of flower in the whole 10-acre garden, are you going to enjoy it? So you have to decide that what you want. On the name of globalization, how much uniformity we want to have and how much individuality we want to retain. So that's a decision uh, one has to make. Does it satisfy you?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
See, we are in an era where we are changing very fast, and society, in a real sense, is not able to digest these changes. In our own lifetime, we have seen so much change, which in history would have taken around few hundred years. So from blackboard, today we have moved to the smart boards in a very short span of time. Whereas the social system and the kind of humans are not that smart to adopt these changes in such a fast way. And in this IT age, the changes which are taking place, and now we are going to, so we have already start seeing this artificial intelligence. Where it will take us, only God knows. Any other?
I hope no one is there waiting. So we are almost in the end of the session. So first of all, I would like to thank you, sir, on the behalf of Central Sanskrit University, Colombo campus, and the Department of History, Holy Cross College, Agartala, for accepting our invitation and giving your precious time from your busy schedule. And sir, actually today's lecture was enlightening lecture and we got lots of information from your lecture. So we are really thankful to you. And you know, we got information about the universities from beginning, asrama education or to university education means primary to higher education and the depend upon the different stages of life. So I would like to thank Sir for giving us a precious description of the content. So here with this word, I would like to conclude the fourth session of our national workshop come FDP. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Smita. Thanks to everyone who have participated and thanks to organizers. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.